different type of video to do. We're going to do a little bit of learning today, but we're going to be basing that learning off of an article that just came out of CNBC. Whereas today, CNBC is reporting that the 30-year fixed mortgage rate just hit 8% officially for the first time since the year 2000 as Treasury yields soar. Now, the reason why we're going to go over this story, but then we're going to bring it into a teaching moment because it is extremely crucial that you understand and learn real estate cycles. Okay, I teach this in the real estate cycles course, or sorry, the real estate crash course, how you can prepare right now, take actual steps right now to get ready for this. Because if you don't know how to prepare for this, you will miss out. All right. Let's do this. Let's start with the story, and then we're going to dive right into the data and show you how I know based off of my 24 years of experience in real estate markets, how and why we're where we are, and how you can actually get ready for it and take advantage of this, all right? So here we go. The 30-year fixed mortgage rate just hit 8% for the first time since year 2000 as Treasury yields soar. It says the average rate on the popular 30-year fixed rate hit 8% Wednesday morning, according to Mortgage News Daily. That is the highest level since mid-2000. The milestone came as bond yields soar to levels not seen since 2007. Mortgage rates follow loosely the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury. Rates rose sharply this week and last week as investors digest more reads on the economy. On Wednesday, it was housing starts, which rose in September, though not as much as expected according to the U.S. Census. Now, let me stop there and remind you that there have been downward revisions after data points come out, and I believe that you're going to see that changed as well. But also we are in the bad news is good news phase. And the reason why I can say that is because over and over, companies and economists set the bar very low when they know things are crashing down, so that when it comes in at or a little bit above those really much lowered expectations that we haven't seen that low in quite some time because the economy has been booming, then people cheer and it keeps the euphoria up, all right? Another thing I want to point out is that we are at a moment where you have to understand that half of the economists in this country believe that we are going to show a GDP print in the 5 percentile. That would mean that our economy is absolutely and utterly booming. Let me ask you this though. Type 1 if you think it's booming, type 2 if you do not believe it's booming. All right. And the reason why I ask you to say that is because what happens is during every boom and bust cycle, they are put together by one major factor, right? Yeah, sure, there's lots of macro and micro factors, economic factors that are involved in this. But what it really comes down to, when the tipping point hits and everybody runs for the exits during an emergency or during an economic crash, it is based on consumer sentiment and how you feel the economy is. Why? Because if you feel that it's booming, you'll spend. When you feel that it is not booming, you actually regress and you spend less. But you're not the only one. So many other people around the country do this. And once you start to realize these very basic economic fundamentals that they do not teach in school, then you can start to time yourself in and out of different markets. This one specifically we're talking about is the real estate market, because there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of money to be saved in different parts of this cycle. Now, it says here, building permits, an indicator of future construction, fell, but by at a less than expected amount. Again, they're setting those expectations really low. Last week, retail sales came in far higher than expected, creating more uncertainty over the Federal Reserve's long-term plan. Now, let's stop there and explain that. First off, the one thing that is not changing, you can have economists come in and set the bar super low so that next month you forget about when they set it really low, because they come out with that type of news when the markets are doing good. There's a euphoria, there's a buying in the stock market, right? There's purchasing of treasuries. Then they put out the bad news, because then the bad news isn't that bad because people live in a paradigm that is based off of today and whatever happened yesterday. And most people that are living in that paradigm of today, and whatever happened yesterday is going to happen tomorrow, they get shocked. And you always hear the same thing all over the news media. When something bad happens to someone, they always say, I never thought this would have happened to me. Right? And so that, just put that on a scale times, tens of millions of people. And that is where we're at right now. Well, the Federal Reserve, there's one thing that you cannot change: inflation. And the Federal Reserve is trying to change inflation, and they're trying so hard to raise rates just enough to where it slows the economy down slowly. But that is not going to happen. As a matter of fact, the Federal Reserve has never been good at that. That is something that history has told us. And the reason why I can say that, again, going back to real estate cycles, the last big time they tried to raise rates incrementally, it was called the dot plot plan of 2003 to 2005, when they started to incrementally raise rates. I'm about to show you that data, and everything came crashing down, okay? And what they have just recently done the last year and a half or 2 years in comparison to what they did back then is shockingly worse. And they have to go even higher to fight the employment numbers, which honestly, I know the government makes it look really positive, but it is not. It's because they say, oh, we just gained this many more jobs. What they are failing to tell you is that you lost a bunch of full-time jobs and you gained a ton of part-time jobs. That actually on an hour-for-hour basis and a comparison of how many humans are running around in America with full-time gainful employment with benefits is very lacking. And so that is going to exacerbate this problem, okay? So that's what we need to do is we need to dissect this differences between what the media is telling you, also what the government is telling you, and then what happened back in history, okay? That is very, very important for you to realize or to think about. Now it says here, there's, again, uncertainty over the Federal Reserve's long-term plan. Well, there's not, because the Federal Reserve has to keep working to kill inflation. Now, check this out. This is a great point. This is from Burnett, Super Chat. It says here, I work for a government agency, and we're told in January we will have a hiring freeze even though we are 30% understaffed. What's my thoughts? Well, I'll tell you what, right now, that's going to be, it's going to be the norm in 2024. How do I know that? The DoD is the largest employer in the country. And after the Great Recession, the DoD went into a civilian hiring freeze. And not only did they go into a hiring freeze, they also froze cost of living adjustments. And for 10 years, the largest employer in our country went through a period where they did not get a single raise in 10 years. Now, why is that significant? Well, it's significant because even though they didn't get a raise, the cost of living got more expensive. Homes went up from 2012 to now, right? Gasoline went up from then till now. Food went up. Everything went up, but yet so many Americans that were employed by the federal government did not get a dime more in their COLA raises. Well, that's less money that goes into the real economy, right? And those are about to start again. That's just one tool that the government has to be able to pull back on consumer spending, which is also increasing the amount of inflation. So when it says here that the Federal Reserve, we just don't know which way the Federal Reserve is going to go, they must continue to raise rates because all of their data is pointing to the fact that they have not broken the backbone of the consumer, all right? And for anybody that's just jumped on, this is very important for people to realize because as today, CNBC is reporting that 30-year mortgages hit 8%, that makes it that much harder for people to buy homes. The velocity of homes collapses sales. Now, let me dive. Actually, there's a really good quote. It goes on to say, this is from Matthew Graham, Chief Operating Officer at Mortgage News Daily. He says, here's another milestone that seems extreme several short months ago. That seemed extreme. The fact is that many borrowers have already seen rates over 8%. That said, many borrowers are still seeing rates in the 7s due to buy downs and discount down points. So let me explain that, because a year ago, I made the prediction that within 1 year, by this coming January, mortgages will be 8%. I needed to give you a prediction because my predictions actually go much higher than this, but I wanted to give it in a digestible format so that you can understand, and see these changes. Type 4, if you remember me putting out that call, I was thinking about doing a compilation video where we actually edit these videos and timestamp them. But my point being is that because there's been a lot of deception in the markets, because a lot of people say, oh, no, I've just got to, you're not right. mortgages aren't at 8% because I just got 7.25%. Well, because if you bought a new home, they're doing what's called rate buy downs. As a matter of fact, I just released on my other channel, the Real Estate Ninja, a secret recording of a call between one of the nation's largest home builders and all of its employees, its contractors, begging them to take a massive discount so that they can pass that on to the home buyer because they can't sell any homes. You are in the greatest moment ever to build wealth if you'll be patient and learn the cycles. With that being said, I'll go ahead and throw some discount links, 80% off the How to Prepare for the Real Estate Crash course down below. It's $199. And then you can start putting together generational wealth right now. I mean, type 5, if you wish that you would have been ready in 2011 with a solid credit score, a little bit of money in the bank, and the know-how how to pick up multiple homes, and then turn around and sell them like on a day like today where velocity is so low because people can't afford to take those price hits or those concessions because they don't believe that the market's turning. That's the deception that's happening right now. And it's very important that people realize that. So let's go on to just a couple of charts really quick here. We'll start with the federal funds rate. And this chart starts in the year 2000 and ends today. And I want to show you, and we're going to go through a handful of charts, okay? So obviously you can see this is where we were in the year 2000. This is where we're at today, okay? Now the most important part to go over, let's go over the great financial crisis. And what you'll notice is that rates plateau. And actually, let me show you that first. So you see after a hiking cycle, right? Rates plateau, and then we have a collapse. Rates plateau, we have a collapse, rates plateau. Rates have not plateaued yet, okay? Very important for you to realize that. It may look like it's getting close to plateauing, but I can tell you right now it's not going to plateau. Now, why do you have a plateau in rates? Well, the most important thing that you need to realize is the Federal Reserve does not like being wrong, okay? They also do not like being blamed for whatever's happening in the world monetary system. They want to be as secret and silent as possible, okay? They want to always be looked at as your savior, and they're not, okay? So what caused the great financial crisis? Well, it's really easy. You had this, and I started buying real estate down here, right? Actually, sorry, I was buying real estate way before then. I was actually buying halfway down, okay? Right here is when I started buying real estate. When they started raising rates, that's when I started selling all my real estate. When they pause, what they do is they hold for a certain type of economic data. That's unemployment to rise, that's spending to slow down, and defaults to start, okay? And then what you'll see is prior to every recession, right before, they already know, and I already know exactly when it's coming too, right beforehand, you'll see they start dropping rates. And the official recession is announced about a quarter or two later. Right here, they start dropping rates. Official recession announced. Look it down here, all right? All right, now, this is where it's really important for you to realize where we're at. You could see that the rate of rise right now has never happened, even compared to the coming into the great financial crisis, okay? This is much higher. What you also have to realize is that debt loads are higher for the average citizen in America compared to when we saw that run up in 2005, okay? Now, the median sales home price, this is what's very important because people tell me all the time, we're not in a crash, Ninja, this isn't a big deal. All right, so this is a chart, again, from the year 2000 till now. And let's go over first the great financial crisis. Now, you had two things changed that was different in the great financial crisis. Areas like Austin, Boise, Idaho, things like that, did not see too much of a pullback. Some cities only saw a flattening of prices around the country, very small cities, small town USA. Austin might have had a 2%, 3% pullback, Boise, Idaho as well. And so the median sales price of a home didn't do a lot during the great financial crisis, right? This shows overall from peak to trough, you saw homes go from $260,000, we're talking about the median sale price, to a trough of $210,000, a loss of about $50,000. That's not much, right? All right, now look at where we're at today, right there. Now, if you look, in the last 20 years, we have never seen a percentage drop this fast in the last 20 years. And I can assure you that this is not the bottom. Why can I say that? The reason why is because we have more derivatives than the mortgage-backed securities. We have a crisis in real estate larger than mortgage-backed securities, which is commercial mortgage-backed securities. We have more of a debt load in consumer spending with credit cards, with student loan debt, and with auto loan debt. And those are all imploding at percentages far greater than what happened during the great financial crisis, right? But yet we have one more thing that is unlike anything else, is worldwide and across the bar inflation in our country. So we have worldwide inflation, we have ours. We have a currency reset that's happening right now. That is why I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that we're moving into a very large real estate crisis, all right? Once you start to see these things happening, once you start to get the feeling for, okay, this time it is different, or let's just say it isn't different, but the cycle is repeating itself, I need to be prepared so that I'm not scared to jump in. Because the point at which, and I'll go back to this last chart, when I started buying real estate was right there. It's 2001, right? Yeah, right there. And right here, it took a little bit of a pause for the dropping of rates because the Federal Reserve was testing the waters, but it was not enough to spur growth. When I started selling was halfway up this cycle. So you could already see where I'm going with where we're going to be buying real estate in the future and how we're going to be crushing it. And by just buying one house, the appreciation that happens in real estate as rates keep dropping, and then the time delay between when people see the rates drop to when they finally start to buy, and then you see the appreciation go up, you'll be able to do cash out refis and constantly be lowering your payments and increasing your ROI on rentals and being able to buy house after house with no money down because you're using the initial seed money from your first property. I'm going to teach that later in another course, but my point being is that's a very brief overview. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. Look, I'm going to throw some more discount links below because this is extremely important. I hear from my students all the time, the most important thing that they learned from the course was the real estate cycles part, because then once you learn it, you see it all around you and you can actually do something about it right now and get ready with bated breath to take advantage of this real estate cycle. I hope you got something out of this. No, that's not good. The Economic Ninja is out.